This is Phantology.
You may have heard of us.
All right, what's up, incestuous Targaryens? This is Stephen, your host from Phantology Podcast, along with my lifelong friend Josh, here to talk about episode 4 of House of the Dragon. This is probably going to be one of our shorter reviews, but there's I think we can just kind of jump right into it, and we'll have plenty to cover. So episode 4, different than the first 3 episodes for me, at least. Like, it was kind of this like self-contained, like, one incident thing rather than the other 3, which were maybe a little like bigger stories.
Yeah, I suppose that's right, I guess. I mean, to me, it did feel a lot of just like setting up the political pieces further in really interesting ways. But I guess you're right. Every other episode like had a different framing device. Like the episode 3 was the hunt and the battle. Then episode 2, yeah, they did go to more places. Yeah, I think you're right. I think that's a fair analysis.
I mean, it felt like we were just going through it was much more like drawn out. Just like, this could have been, if it was a little bit longer, it could have been just like a movie story. It was just like that, self-contained, to be this one small thing. Like, it didn't necessarily feel like it had to be part of this big long series. Almost, I don't know, maybe I'm off.
I think that this did a lot to really show that they're irreconcilable. Is that how you say the word?
Yeah, the characters.
Yeah, but between Viserys and Daemon, and also between Otto and Viserys, and also between like Rhaenyra and Viserys in some ways. You know, like I guess not really.
It was not yet.
Not yet, but
yeah. So some relationships we're not gonna be able to salvage, and then some are like, we're getting to the point where it seems like we're not gonna be able to salvage them after this incident. So it's kind of like, it's almost like this is they're kind of setting this up as like the inciting incident for the future action.
Yeah, but I guess every episode feels like it's kind of had that thing that could be like the inciting incident. But yes, this does feel like it's like now that Otto has been removed as being the hand of the king, he's ready to, it seems to me like he's ready to go like all in on making bigger, bolder moves that now that he doesn't have the fear of losing that. Same thing kind of with Daemon. Like he went and did this big thing to try and earn his brother's respect. Well, I don't know. That was my reading of it first, when he went and did that kamikaze mission. Like, a lot of it was for Viserys's respect / to be loved by the little people. That's what they call them. Yeah.
The small
folk. Yeah. But now it just seems like he's not going to get that respect. He's not going to get Viserys's respect. Like, he's kind of needing to do some other moves here. So
my reading, watching episode 3, was the reason why he did the kamikaze thing. I mean, maybe to get Viserys's respect, but mostly just so he wouldn't get embarrassed himself. Like, I don't know if he cares about being respected as much, but he just doesn't want to lose to Viserys. And in his mind, if he had to be rescued by him after this 3-year war, which he started and wasn't able to finish, that would feel like a failure to him and being one-upped by his brother. So that was something that he could not allow. I don't know if he necessarily cares too much. Like, I don't know. It doesn't sound like Daemon is the type to even like forgive Viserys, or to like want to ever reconcile with Viserys.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know though, because at times he seems so genuine,
Yeah, but is he, or is it just all an act? Like with Rhaenyra, when they're like talking in the garden, he seems to like genuinely like want to like give her advice, almost like favorite uncle, older brother type advice conversation. But then he's like super swarm, just like tries to come onto her, right? Like that night. And
But was that because
clearly,
he does love
but
her or no?
well, yeah, I don't know. Was it? I mean, there's some kind of chemistry between them, but or is it just to get back at Viserys and to make a play, or is it like a combination of everything? Maybe.
That's what it kind of seems like to me, is it's kind of everything at the wall. So I think his grand strategy was to bring her out and to do a few things. And this is just my reading, and I might be totally off. But I thought he was, and I haven't read the book either. So like this is just going based on these episodes.
Uh huh.
But I thought he was, one, to like show her that she needs the support of the people. That's why he brought her to that play. Two, to like show her um I guess kind of what she's missing out on with life if she just goes through on like just getting married to a suitor that she doesn't really love. Like that's why
Uh
kind of
huh.
why he brought her to the pleasure house. Three, and then I think it does get more calculated to try and pull a stunt that would leave Viserys open to wedding her to him. So like to quote unquote like defile her or like lose her maidenhood. And whether that was like him taking it or somebody else taking it, I think that was a big part of it. And four, I think also he like does is kind of infatuated with her in some ways. So I think those were like in my mind the four reasons why he did what he did. I don't know the weighting of those, but I think that all four of those like played into his plan for the night.
And you mentioned you hadn't read the book, but honestly, at this point, there's no real advantage to having read the book, because the way the book handles this is, and we're talking about Fire and Blood, the fictional history. The way the book handles a lot of these incidents are, it gives you these kind of like different accounts of like, oh, this person said this way, and it's mostly like Mushroom, the court fool, and the High Septon are both writing accounts of a lot of this stuff. So one of them kind of thinks one thing happened, another one thinks another thing happened, and it's never like definitively said this is exactly what happens. So we get, in watching this, like we get an explanation, like as a viewer we know what happened, but it's also interesting that there's immediately like so much misinformation that still kind of like gets at the themes of the way that the book presented it. So the bones of the story are still kind of the same, but in Fire and Blood, the thing was Rhaenyra was like, Rhaenyra wanted to seduce Kristen Cole. Like she was infatuated with him, and so some accounts are like, yes, her and Daemon had this relationship that was totally illicit, and then some are like they kind of did, but they didn't ever consummate anything, and Daemon just like told her, like schooled her in how to pleasure a man, and then from there she tried to come on to Kristen Cole, and then there's even rumors there like, were they lovers or not? Like, not necessarily sure. Most of the accounts say that Cole actually rejected her, which did not happen here. But I think I just think it's cool the way that they did this episode, because you know what happened, but at the same time, like immediately no one else does. And it's not even like really important what happened necessarily as far as the politics.
Yeah, that's true. And like in some ways, you don't really know what happened because some like the important bits were out of frame for a little bit. I mean,
Yeah.
like, I don't know. We don't just go watch the scene. Like there might have been some, you know, uh, loss of virtue, I guess you could say, in that scene that you didn't really see. It's implied that it didn't happen, but like
Right.
you don't really know, right? Like,
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
so I mean, I don't know really what I'm trying to say with that, except for the fact that it is interesting that like we saw everything that happened and still like there are questions as to what happened, and and so what did you think with the whole Kristen Cole thing in this? Did you like, do you ship them, or are you just like, oh, Rhaenyra is just kind of like, to me this almost seemed like not a sexual assault per se, but like she, like if the gender roles were reversed and like a man kind of
Right.
like prevented a woman from like leaving and then like started stripping her of her clothes, and then like
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. It's just the power dynamics are interesting. Same thing with the power dynamics between like Damon and her. Like
Yeah.
it's all
Yeah.
very interesting.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, it was shot this way, to kind of make it not seem like anything. Like in Game of Thrones, there were a lot of like really questionable, kind of male power dynamic sexual issues. And here you have the opposite, where it's more of a, it's shot by a female director, actually did this episode. And at the end, they kind of talked about the reason why they try to do it this way, to show that, like, women are sexual too, right? That's kind of the point of a lot of this. But
Yeah.
as far as,
So now am I just seeing like a female empowered like sex scene and thinking that it's like like assault or
well,
something? I don't know.
but I mean, you're right, because like Kristen Cole he was kind of wanting to not get involved in this, because I think he realized, like, this is gonna be an issue for me.
Well,
But
and
at the
it's
same,
breaking his oath too. I mean,
yeah, yeah. But he also, I mean, there's clearly chemistry between them. But yeah, if you're the Kingsguard, like, that's obviously way taboo. And I think his first instinct was like, I shouldn't do this. But then when she kind of prevented him, he's like, okay, like, right.
yeah. So anyway, just interesting. And the same thing with like Damon going and like getting her drunk, like all of this is very, kind of shaky ground in terms of how you should be conducting these type of relations. First of all, it shouldn't be a niece and a or a niece and an uncle either way, but like it just
Correct.
I don't know. Just the way that this is all presented is very difficult. However, it is a lot more tasteful than a lot of these type of things in Game of Thrones was, because you
Right.
can, like it's not as kind of yucky feeling, I guess you could say. Although there are questions on like the lines that are not are not being crossed, like in Game of Thrones, those lines were like way in the rear view mirror. I can't talk right now, sorry, and it was bad. So anyway, that's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Game of Thrones had the whole Ramsay Sansa thing, which was just like way too much. Yeah, yeah. I do like, I mean, the way that they get it immediately turn this into politics is, I think, the reason why this episode works, because they focus on, the actual illicit affair, if you will, for a while, which honestly, I mean, it was like several minutes, probably, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes. Like, we're just going through this whole like extended scene. And then, which was okay. But the whole time I was wondering, like, why is this so much of a focus? But then they're immediately able to turn it into this big inciting incident with politics. And there's going to be so much fallout from all of this. So I think the episode works because of that, because they were immediately able to take this and say, like, okay, this is why this is so important. This is why you should care about what did or did not happen, or who's lying, or what, because now, Otto's gone and relations are frayed all over the place. And now we're going towards, I guess, what's some kind of compulsory wedding here for Rhaenyra that seems like almost a mid-season finale in the next episode.
True. I also, so I talked about this on Discord, and I talked to Hayden about this in our last episode, but
is this just hate on Rhaenyra coming
this is
up?
hate on Rhaenyra time, like for all your Rhaenyra stands out here. I'm sorry, but like all my like critiques of her performance, not the actress is doing a great job, I'm talking about like the character in universe, but like all my critiques of her from last episode, like I think are still holding true. Like she's being very selfish. She's like refusing to do her duty. And to be clear, I'm not saying that like women should just like be like, okay, I'm just going to get married and have kids, even if I don't want to. But like, if she doesn't, like, she knows that that's expected of her if she is going to be heir, and like she wants to be heir. So if she doesn't want to be heir, then she should like step down or resign or do something, and then like not have that expectation for herself. You know what I mean? Like there's a way that she can have the freedom that she wants. and that would make everybody's life a lot simpler if she's just like, you know what, I don't think I should be heir. I think that like Aegon or Daemon should be heir. You know what I mean? And then she can have the freedom that she wants. But
I
she
mean,
doesn't want.
to be fair, she went on at the beginning of the episode. She went on like the 3-month long
And she didn't take
little
it seriously.
tour of the. Well, I mean, you saw what was happening there. Would you take that seriously?
Okay, well,
I mean, maybe they showed
I
us
don't
the more.
know.
You're saying like there's got to be some
There's
suitable
got to be
person
some.
out there.
It's I'm saying it's like showing us the extreme, right? Like there's a whole line of people, and they
Right.
showed like the oldest and the youngest to make a point, right? But like she had 3 months of that. Like if you go into the attitude like, okay, well, I'm not going to be happy with anyone because all they want me for is the crown, which might be true, but like this is, you know, like this is kind of what you sign up for if you want to be heir, and she wants to be heir, right? Like
Yeah.
you sign up for having a marriage that like you don't necessarily, you know, isn't based on love, it's based on politics, and that's what this world
Right.
is. Like that's never not how it's happened in this world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, she saw her parents were, you know, seemed to be a pretty good match, loving parents. But then,
But
you
like-
know,
but like-
Viserys had to marry again, and you know, that was obviously a questionable decision.
And like what Viserys said, like he it was for politics to start off with, and then they grew to love each other. And to be clear, I'm not like advocating for, you know, arranged marriages and stuff. Like I think everybody should have their agency, right? But like she knows that this is what's going on, what's expected of her, right? For the betterment of the realm, because we see what type of issues this causes when she rejects her duty, right? And I really like that scene where the two lords or whatever get in the little like fight at the beginning, and the kid kills the other lord guy, like because, and here's my again like quote unquote reading of that scene, was that like it shows what happens when she doesn't take it seriously. Like a little civil war broke out because she wasn't taking it seriously, and she wasn't like, you know, like, so in my mind that was like a little you know,
little microcosm.
a little microcosm of what's going to happen to the realm. Like if she just keeps like spurning all these people, then like tensions are going to rise and violence is going to break out. So
the show does a good job of all those little moments, like right after that when she's, you know, sailing back and Daemon comes over and kind of like teases her ship with his dragon. Like, you know, it's another kind of little moment there that I still
every episode has to have a dragon in it, and that's the only time they give it that dragon.
That's very true. House of the Dragon, gotta have a dragon. I'm stealing this from another review, but the whole line of suitors that was you know, applying for her marriage, right? That just reminded me, well, the review said this and I agree, it's like a Parks and Rec situation, like, you know, the ridiculousness of everyone lining up with their complaints, like all these outlandish, ridiculous people.
That's funny. Yeah. Were you truly struck with my grandmother's beauty? Yeah, but that was 50 years ago. My point is, that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
So, but okay. And then, okay, sorry, I'm still hating on Rhaenyra time. She makes that dumb comment. And this is maybe one of the, I don't know if this was like too on the nose of the writers, because I've been very impressed with the writing of this show. But when she goes to Allison and she's like, oh, who wants to just be cooped up, married to a man they don't want, like love popping out babies? And Rhaenyra's like, or Allison's like, that's like my life, you know, like, like, and the fact that Rhaenyra like is so self-centered that she didn't even know that she was describing like her, you know, Allison's life right there. It just goes to show
question on that whole scene. Now they're friends. I didn't understand that, because in the previous episode they were really at odds, but now they're, you know, like grab each other's hand and they seem to have reconciled, and but like not very much time passed. That was confusing to me.
I think that's one of those things of it being like 3 years. Like,
but between episode 3 and 4 it was not 3 years. It was probably, I mean, it was whatever space of time it took for Allison to have her second child. She was quite pregnant in the third, so I thought it was more like 3 months, because Rhaenyra went on the tour and came back.
Yeah, maybe. The thing is, they never like seemed to hate each other that much. Like it was mostly a power struggle trying to figure out how they related to each other. It didn't seem like they were, like never going to be able to be friends again.
So they kind of reconciled off screen, and then Rhaenyra immediately just like disses her in the worst possible way.
Well, the other thing I think that Viserys like confirming to her that she was going to be heir probably went like a long way to healing that relationship, and seeing that Alicent wasn't going to go try and. I think that's why she was so offended when Alicent brought up at the ending of the episode, brought up the incident and like questioned her, because like she then went back into kind of the same mode as Viserys did with Otto, of being like, oh no, you're just trying to, like use this to your political advantage.
Yeah, and like Alicent comes straight to her and gives her this information, like clearly trying to help her. That's another reason to be like, Rhaenyra is this ridiculous, selfish person, because I feel like she should say like, thank you for trusting me to come to me with the information and like trying to assist me in this dire time. Instead, she just immediately gets all upset.
Yeah, on something that was like probably 75% of the way true, depending on how depending on how close the depending on what happened off screen, you can adjust that percentage as necessary.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think that the performance has been awesome and the character is super intriguing, but like, I do not think that Rhaenyra is like the right person to inherit the throne. That's
then who is then?
Daemon, man. I'm all about Daemon. Well, before, I don't know now.
Daemon, you clearly don't want Daemon in charge of your kingdom.
Oh crap! I don't know. I don't know. Like, Aegon might be crazy. Who
knows? But they always say like the Targaryens born, they flip a coin to decide if they're going to be crazy or stable.
I guess Rhaenyra is definitely more on the stable side of that coin compared to the other Targaryens we've seen on screen.
Yeah,
but,
or is she still spinning?
Ooh.
I mean, you thought like Daenerys was like fairly stable until, fairly stable, never completely, but yeah.
Shoot, that's why this show is so good. It's like, honestly, if you were in Viserys' shoes, or if you could just wave a magic wand, like, who would you pick? And like, there's no easy answer. Like,
dude, put the sea snake in charge. He can get stuff done.
Yeah, that's true. Like, his wife still has like a claim on the throne.
Yeah,
if Viserys were to die. Yeah,
right.
So
I mean, maybe, but she was already passed over at the Great Council all those years ago. So it would, it'd be really tough to bring her back in and say you're now the queen.
Well, what if Viserys was to die like right after he was appointed? Yeah, like if you went back in time and like Viserys was to take.
Well, yeah. I mean, if he were to die, then Rhaenys would probably would have became queen. Or if like all the other Targaryens were wiped out, I suppose she would be.
Just interesting.
No time for Corlys on screen in this episode, which is unfortunate. I think that Laenor Valerian needs more time on screen, because now he's going to be the one who she's going to marry. That's what we think at this point. But we don't know much about him other than he appeared like a couple times, one time as a child, and we don't know anything about that. We have real like no insight into his character, and then he flew a dragon and kind of saved the day in episode 3. I mean, seems like maybe a cool guy. Like, maybe this is a good match and Rhaenyra might like him, but I guess they have no relationship. Like, it seems odd that she wouldn't be more familiar with him, or maybe like be considering, like, if I was Rhaenyra, I'd be thinking, like, who are all the lords in the kingdom? And she should know because she's the princess. And then maybe like, make a list. Like, who do I like? Like, how do I rank these people?
Yeah,
exactly. Gotta be someone. And I feel like Leonard is kind of a cool guy and has a really good claim to, marrying a princess. And I don't know why maybe this hasn't come up before.
Yeah, this is where I'm at. Like, it seems like if there's a good enough option right there, then she should be fine. She should have. She'd be like, Jason Lannister, he kind of stinks, but
let's do a courtship here with Leonard. Let's try him out.
See, this is what I'm talking about. Okay, sorry, my hatred can be put at ease as long as
I mean,
she's
that just seems more of like a, I don't know, that's more just like of a writing thing, or the way that the story was structured didn't, like, he's not around, but he should be.
Well,
That
I
that's
guess
I'm saying it seems weird that he's not.
to be
But
fair,
I
I
guess
guess he,
because Corlys is at odds with everyone, then like the
yeah,
Valerians are kind of on the outs.
and maybe if he was out doing at that war for the last 3 years,
Yeah,
then she might not have been really considering him.
yeah. That's probably fair. Yeah, because he could die at any time. I don't know. I guess anyone in this realm could die at any time. It's hard to really get too attached.
Yeah.
All right. So Josh, tell me who your top performer and bottom performer were from this episode.
Okay, top performer. I'm going to
And
go,
not like in terms of acting. This is in terms
Yeah.
of which character advanced their cause the most.
this one's hard because really everybody sucked this episode, but I'm going to have to go with the dang, I'm forgetting her name, but Damon's lady friend that got the information about,
Yeah, I don't remember her name either.
yeah,
But she's like the mistress of whispers, basically.
yeah, the mistress who came in and she's like, the skin trade only got me so far, but now I now I deal in information basically.
Right.
So low key, maybe like 15 seconds of screen time or whatever, less than a minute, but she goes and changes the game and is responsible for delivering one of the most groundbreaking secrets. Bottom performer, man, I might have to say Otto. Just
it's Otto.
Stripped of the hand of the, stripped of the hand of the king. I mean, everybody had a pretty crappy episode.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, Damon's banished again. That's a pretty bad performance. Like you can, I don't know. Like, there's a lot of bad performances this episode. So
it's kind of, it almost depends. You're waiting to see what happens from this, because a lot of seeds have been sown here. Double entendre, maybe intended. And you're waiting to see what may spring forth.
So okay, do your top and bottom, and then I have the last conversation point to talk about.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I think Otto made a play, really kind of like how Corlys did in episode 2. I think that was when he made a calculated play and he totally misread Viserys, and it was a disaster for him. Otto, same thing. He totally misread Viserys. He probably should have known that he was not going to take this news very well. And I don't know if another question is, like, did he embellish the information? Like, what did the little kid tell, the spy tell him exactly? Did he decide to embellish that and say, her virtue is totally lost? I don't know. If he did, that's an even bigger miss. Yeah.
Right.
So Otto there. Bottom or top? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there was anyone who really advanced their cause too much.
The little lordling that gutted the other guy, that kid's gonna be.
Yeah, maybe that guy. Not that was anything like good, but I mean, that little wimpy kid seems like he's maybe tougher than we thought.
Yeah, that kid's gonna have some drinks bought for him on the house.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
What's your last word?
Is she gonna drink the tea, and is the tea indicating that Viserys doesn't really trust her?
Yeah.
That's my questions. Like, did he put it there to confirm if she drank it, then he knows that she was lying to him. If she didn't drink it, is she going to gamble and not drink it to make it look like she didn't, and then like she's actually pregnant and gonna be having a Kristen Cole's kid? And then if she marries, Laenar, what the other kid, the other guy, then when she's already pregnant. But in the show, and I know that this isn't how it is in the books, but they're black, so that might be kind of interesting, because like the kid would probably
be
look
pretty obvious. Yeah, that would be an issue.
Be pretty obvious. So these are the thoughts that are running through my head, depending on how fast that wedding happens. But it seems like it could happen pretty fast. Anyway, there are my thoughts from the cliffhanger at the ending of the episode. So
yeah, okay.
That T was a Chekhov's gun type thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, I mean, there is enough ambiguity in the way that the history reads where I don't think we can say 100% for certain what's going to happen next. I think I have a pretty good idea because a lot of things like are basically confirmed from the text of Fire and Blood, but who knows? They can shift things around a little bit, and it would still be just fine. All right, so this is our last episode 5 is gonna be our last one before they do the big time skip and age up and do the different actors.
Excellent.
Yeah. So should be another wedding. We know Game of Thrones weddings are exciting.
Okay, Steven. Okay, oh my gosh.
Well, come on, just historically they are.
Quick story. I shared this in Discord too, but so Mackenzie, my wife, was she watched the last season of Game of Thrones with me, but nothing crazy happened. I mean, crazy things did happen, but like anyway, so
at that point characters had a lot of plot armor.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to say it. So Daemon is brought in and thrown on the floor in this episode, right? And I'm like, dang, Viserys could just come in and chop this guy's head off right now. And Mackenzie's like, no, he's like a main character. That would not happen. I'm like, nothing. this very well could happen right now.
So you never went back. She has no idea who Ned Stark is, or you never went back and
she probably heard me talk about it, but like, if it's just a bunch of names at that point. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've said like, oh, the hand of the king that got head chopped off or something. I think she's probably heard me say it, but like probably doesn't realize that was like the biggest star of the show. And like, you know what I mean? That type of thing. Because it would really be Matt Smith is for sure the biggest name this season, right? At least the most recognizable. So it would be a pretty good comparison, So
yeah. All right. Thanks for tuning in.
All right.
Looking forward to episode 5.
All right.
Okay. See you, Josh.